Hello, in this video we're talking about panorama photography and more specifically about the panoramas that you can produce out of your DJI drone such as this Mavic 2 Pro. I will show you how you can take full control over the images that your drone captures in panorama mode in order to create high quality, truly stunning, beautiful images. Because the default panoramas that your drone generates are not so good. This video is going to be a combination of a vlog and a tutorial, so let me know down below in the comments if you like this style of a video. By the way, there will be a giveaway by the end of this video, so make sure to stick around. But right now, I need to get to the location, so see you in a moment.
When I think about the way we used to be, when I think about the things you took from me, I know that I am so much better. When I look at what I've done, now that we're apart, when I look at what I've won, I've come so far. I know I'm so much better off, and baby, you don't belong. I could feel it in my bones. There was something going on, that shade of doubt hanging around that old. 'Cause darling, there is nothing right when all you seem to do is lie. Those days are gone. I'm walking tall while you're alone.
So the idea behind panorama photography is that you take multiple individual frames, making sure that there's enough overlap between the images, and then in post-production you can merge those images together and create a final panorama. And DJI drones actually have a panorama mode built into them, and when you activate it, you just press one button and the drone takes all the images it needs and it stitches them up into a final one panorama, so you can work with it and share it online or whatever. But the problem is that the panorama that the DJI drones generates are only JPEGs. It is not possible to generate a high quality raw DNG file in panorama mode right in your DJI drone. And it's a bummer, because if you want to recover some shadows or maybe bring down some highlights, you can really see the difference between a DNG file and a JPEG file. And also, from my experience, I have seen that in DJI drones there are actually a lot of artifacts during the stitching algorithm, because when the drone stitches the images and, for instance, there's a building on the boundary between one image and another, it oftentimes happens that the building appears twice in the output panorama, which is not very good, and it's called an artifact. And if you do it manually in Lightroom, you can actually merge them with much better success and without all those artifacts. But the problem is that if you do it manually, you will have to reframe every individual image, and it gets, first, kind of tedious, and second, it's really hard to eyeball it and do it consistently between every individual frame. So it's possible to actually take best of both worlds and let the drone take all the individual images and let you do the stitching manually in Lightroom and work with DNG files. Well, turns out it's possible. So let's fire up the drone and let me show you how it's done. And by the way, if you're wondering how come I have a strap for my DJI controller, you can click on the card right here and watch a video when I explain how to adapt your camera strap to a DJI controller like this one. So let's fire the drone, let's get it into the sky, and let me show you how it's done.
When I think about the way we used to be, when I think about the things you took from me, I know that I am so much
Alright, let's fire it up. So we are going to get it in the middle of the river, and to a height probably something around 100 meters should be fine for our composition. Alright, right now we are in our final location, which is 100 meters above and in the middle of this river. Maybe just rotate a tiny bit to the right, and then first go to photo mode, of course, and then set it to manual exposure, because that's the way that we have the most control over the drone, in manual exposure. And we're just gonna make sure that we have no blown highlights. We can On a sunny day like this, ISO 100 of course, aperture something around f3.5 and f4 should be fine. And then we just need to manipulate the shutter so that we do not blow any highlights, because again, if you blow the highlights, it may not be possible to recover it in post-production, but if you have deep shadows, you will probably be able to lift them out in post-production and get a good result. So I think 1/1600 is fine for this particular scene and day. And let's change mode to panorama, which is here. Okay, here we have three options. We have sphere, 180 degrees and vertical, but since we are going to do the stitching manually in post-production in Lightroom anyway, I think it's best to capture as many frames as we can, so we just leave it at sphere. And then click this cog button, and this is important. Save original panorama. Make sure that this switch is turned on, because that way the individual files will be saved to the SD card, so we can then take them to Lightroom and stitch them manually, like I said. Make sure that the raw option is selected again here, because we want to work with raw files in Lightroom and not with JPEGs, obviously. And then close this up. And right now, when I click this orange button, the drone will start to take all of the individual images. But watch on the screen what the drone actually does, how it changes its tilt and azimuth angle, because then in post-production we will know in which order those individual frames were taken, so we can take the frames that we want and work with them. So watch what happens. I'm gonna hit here. So it basically tilts down, takes a couple of exposures tilting down, then it goes left, and it basically rotates 300 degrees, and each time it rotates a little bit, it takes a couple of exposures vertically. So let's wait until it's finished. Yeah, we have some blown highlights here because the sun is behind us, but we are not interested in what's behind us anyway, so we can just ignore that. Okay, now we have some progress here, 52%. So I think it's done. And we can just, yeah, let's land, let's jump into Lightroom, and let me show you how to edit those files. Alright, I have the drone. Let's take out the SD card, dump it into the computer, fire up Lightroom, and let me show what to do with those files. Okay, so I have my computer right here, and let's actually start with dumping the footage from the SD card to your local drive, because it can be tricky, and I was really puzzled the first time I was doing it. So as we can see here on the SD card, we have the standard DCIM and MISC folder. And if we go to DCIM, we go to 101 Media, and what you can see here is one JPEG file. And the first time I did that, I was like, what? Why a JPEG file? I said I wanted individual panoramas, and I wanted them specifically as DNG RAW files, not a JPEG. So what just happened? And actually, if we go back, we can see there's a panorama folder here in DCIM, and if you go there, we have a folder, and inside the folder, we have 26 DNG files that are those individual frames that the drone took to stitch up this JPEG that we saw in the other folder. So these are the DNG files that we wanted to work with. So let's actually copy them to my local disk. So I think it's done. So let's open Lightroom. And right now, basically, we can select from those frames whatever the composition we want. But I don't want 360 because it gives just too much distortion. I want, for instance, 2 images in one column, and let's say 5 columns. So we have 5 columns and 2 rows. So we need to select 10 files in total. And like we saw on the screen of the controller, the drone started with our base frame, which was this. Then it tilted up, and then it tilted down. So we're gonna take those 2. You can hold the Command or Control key to select multiple images. And then it went left, so we need those 2. So we have 10 selected, like I said. we can right click, go to Photo Merge, Panorama. It will take a while to generate a preview. Okay, so here's our preview. It looks pretty good. We can disable the auto crop, and you can see that those individual frames are perfectly lined up, and I guarantee if you were eyeballing it and changing the framing yourself, you would have never gotten this kind of consistency that the drone got, because of course the drone has all the sensors, so it knows exactly how much it moves in every direction. So let's actually leave the auto crop on. We can slide this to squeeze it just a little bit, and let's actually perform the merge. Alright, now it's done. Here's our panorama. We can go to the develop module, and we can see how it looks. It looks pretty good, and if we zoom in here, we can see that there are pretty much no artifacts. The panorama looks flawless, and if we examined the panorama generated by the DJI drone, we can see that it looks largely different. It is of course wider because it's a 360 panorama, but if we zoom in, we can see some artifacts. For instance, here we can see this line of buildings is doubled. We can see some weirdness in this building, and I have some other examples when it's more apparent, and you can see that here the drone generated a lot of artifacts. So really those panoramas generated by the DJI drone by itself by default, it's not a very high quality image. You will get better results, far better results, doing it manually in Lightroom. Also, here we have a cloudless day, but if we have some clouds, like for instance on this image, you can see what happens. Basically the clouds on the upper part are cut off, and it really looks very, very weird and not pleasing at all. So let's go back to our panorama, and at this point we can actually edit it the way we want to. We can apply some presets, and let's actually use one of mine presets. If you want to go for this autumny kind of look, you can go for amber. Let's see how it looks. Oh, that looks pretty good, but maybe something more subtle like teal and orange. Yeah, I like this one. So at this point of the edit, it's really a matter of personal preference how you want to edit your file. But if you would like to use my presets and receive the whole pack of my Lightroom presets for completely free, all you have to do is make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, then go find me on Instagram. Here's my handle. Go there, I will also link to it down in the description box of this video. Find me there, give me a follow, and write me a private message that you would like to receive my Lightroom presets for free, and I will send you a download link. That's basically it for today. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button down below. It really makes a difference. Also, like I said, consider subscribing to the channel. I make travel videos, vlogs, and also photography tutorials, filmmaking tutorials, and like today, drone flying tutorials. So if you are interested in any of that, you know what to do. But that's it for now. Have a nice day. See you next time. Bye bye.